I talked to Steven recently. Obviously, I've become privately. I've become disillusioned with Max after having some space from him and realizing that he was very manipulative. And there's a couple things that I think are true. One, I think it is probably inappropriate to sleep with people that you work with, if only because it is very dramatic. If only because it's dramatic. Whether or not it's ethical, I think that I had an opinion last year. Now I don't really care at all. I think that there are way worse things that people do, and I just don't really care to take away anyone's agency anymore. I think that that's mostly what Max is trying to do, like with the whole like victims thing. I mean, obviously, every single woman who's been involved with Steven has had agency. He's not having sex with like drooling like paraplegic retards. You know what I mean? Um,
Jesus
so
Christ.
whether or not it is ethical, I don't really care. What I will say is that uh, when Max talked to me in the beginning about the crusade against Steven, it was very delicious to me for especially when I was feeling very, very bad and very embarrassed and where I felt like I was being taken advantage of by Steven. It was very delicious to me to have someone completely enable me by saying that none of it was my fault and I had zero agency whatsoever. Which is what Max did basically like the whole time, saying like, "Oh, he had all this power over me, all of A, B, and C," which I mean could be true if you look at it in a very like one narrative way.
Thank you,
But also, I have
Zool99 for the sub.
every.
Thank you so
I
much.
mean, I knew what I was doing the whole time when I reached out to him the first time, right? Like as a hot girl, I message him and I'm like, hee hi, and then I'm like, oh, maybe like I come on stream to talk to him about Max. Like I obviously knew what I was doing. I knew that to some extent I would be trading my sexuality for a relationship with this person who could become advantageous in my career. Um Max's whole thing was like he kept bringing up the like teacher student thing. Like if a student wants to have sex with a teacher, it's the teacher's responsibility to say no, which is true, but I'm not a student and Steven isn't a teacher. So the line is like way grayer, way blurrier. Um, do I think that Steven is the best person I've ever met? No, he doesn't have to be, right? I think that he is very drunk with power sometimes, which I think that we all can be. If I had Steven's audience, I would probably be worse than him. I would wage to say. Um, I think uh, yeah, I think that he's done some things like, for example, him saying that I like talk shit about my husband, which he completely
Zool99
mischaracterized to like
gifting
look.
another sub.
I
Thank
mean,
you so, so much.
I mean, it just didn't happen, and that was when I had the big like turn. That was when I stopped saying that Steven like wasn't evil, and I was like, oh, I actually hate this guy. Was when I thought that he was like capable of lying. But we recently talked about that, and he said that he was upset, and that was him trying to make me upset.
Well, you
So
clearly succeeded.
I mean, yeah, obviously that's like a super shitty thing to say. So yes, do I think that
Just
Steven is
people
a
driver
bad?
tactic.
Do I think that Steven is a good person? Not. Do I think that he is like a villain and that I was the complete victim? By no means. Do I agree with half of Max's crusade? Sure. Like I think that there should be someone maybe checking to see if streamers are being ethical. I probably wouldn't want it to be him. And I think that Max is like a highly abusive, like very manipulative. Like I think that everything that Max accused Steven of, Max is and has done. Um so it was I was caught in a very strange situation and it's
Were you
embarrassing and also
were you guys having
sorry.
like weekly calls, like the three of you, Shaylin, Max, you? Was this a
Um
thing?
yeah, so Max and I talked every day for like a few hours for like a month or two. Um
Zool99 gifting yet another
and then
sub.
Shaylin
Thank
would
you
join
so much,
some
buddy.
calls, but not all of them by any means, not
Single-handedly
even
funding the
most of them.
channel. Let's fucking go.
But yeah, it was a very strange echo chamber for a while because then I felt like it was very strange. I mean, looking back on it, it was the strangest relationship I've ever had with anyone. And I can't believe I was so naive, but I was at an obviously very fragile state. It's
What
hard to have.
made you think that you have to be
like dissuade Stephen to be around, right? Because I mean, there are plenty of people that are around that don't have to do like sex things with him, right? Because
Allegedly.
I don't know if this is just Mr. Girl that rotted your brain to make you think that way, but I'm not sure how, or if it's just the like community memeing. I don't know how this became to be like an accepted thing.
I think it's a couple things. I think one, Max really reiterated that, and I think that it played on like a deeper, sadder part of myself that thought that I was like only useful for that. So it was an internal feeling that then I think Max made into the like weaved into the narrative. Um
Nunez, thank you so much for the gifted sub, buddy. Zool99 gifting another sub. That's his fourth? I think fourth gifted sub. The site says 3, but I think it's 4.
Max had like
Thanks
a
again,
very
buddy.
different reason of not
Let's fucking
liking
go.
Steven than I did. I was always, I mean, for months while Max was writing the Destiny report, for months, I was saying, I don't think that Steven's evil. Am I going to stream with him again? I don't think so. Like, I clearly at that point was just like very on the fence, and people were getting very mad at me for being on the fence. I remember that for months. People were like, "Oh, wish-washy lab. She can't make up a decision about Steven." And I was just like, I don't think that he's evil. But then obviously you said the thing like about the like lie he made up about my fiance, and I was like, oh, if he's capable of lying, I actually want him dead. Like,
holy shit, did that really just happen?
like,
I had like muted my mic there for a second.
Like abuse
I heard the alert
me
come
and
through,
my
but I need
partner
to
is
actually
like
check
like
what the fuck
and
is happening.
utilize your audience to do that is like super disgusting behavior. So that was when I flipped. Max had, and that's the criticism I've had of Steven mostly is just that he's like power hungry, potentially narcissistic, and like I think he is very I think he's very weird with his relationships that he has with women.
Why do you
like,
think he's power hungry then?
All
Why do I
this
think he's
over
power-
forethought banning him from the subreddit, just as a reminder.
Wait, what?
The Mr.
I
Girl
don't think
thing.
that's I don't know if that's true. I think that Max really does believe the things that he's saying. I don't think that there's like some he's like trying to hide that he's like upset about being banned. Like I think that he actually does think that Steven has done something like extremely unethical and abusive.
Yeah, but he didn't
I-
say anything until there was the blow up over forethought. That was the
what Max will say is his turning point is finding out that he was still sexting Anna, which is like, I mean, people glossomed over that, but that was like a big thing. Like
I
finding
mean,
out
it was
that,
stupid, but I don't know if it was more than it indicated any more than that, really.
well,
Do you think that you,
Dude, somebody, I don't know if it was actually
more
Destiny, but
mentally
somebody
ill
just
because you
donated
actually put your
$500.
money
Thank
on
you
it?
so fucking much. Holy shit.
pay $500.
I think
What? What did you say, Esports
sorry,
Batman?
what were we
Pay
saying?
$500.
Yeah, I just got a $500 tip from someone who said it was Destiny. I don't know if it was Destiny. Okay. Oh, Esports Batman just got gifted a sub from Zool99 again. Going hard on the subs today. Sorry, I've been muting my mic because I got a couple subs and stuff.
Based.
Damn.
I forgot that going on before that stupid call. Anyone with a brain can see Max is more sick than me.
I know.
Oh yeah, Max is a twisted customer. If you had to, you won't call out Hassan quite directly, Lav, but would you say that Max actually mind raped you?
I think that I had agency during it. I think that I actively made a choice to be enabled by Max.
No
Good.
coercion, really?
That might actually be
No
growth.
autonomy in that?
Terrifying.
Is it mind rape if you liked it? Is that what you're?
Yeah, exactly. That's literally exactly what I said.
Yeah.
But yeah, the whole
Mm.
thing. I mean, looking back at it, it just feels so small. Every instance that I had with, I mean, when me and Steven talked, like the other, I maybe it was last week, maybe it was the week before. I'm losing track of time.
Lab, can I ask you one last question about Max? Does Shaylin have an operational cell phone?
Oh my gosh, you guys are so.
I have to say this in the middle of someone talking with a sentence. What's wrong with you? Fucking social skills.
I was
Jeez.
gonna say was that everything that we talked about in the call seemed every issue that I had with Steven seemed very easily communicatable and fixable and small.
Is there a
And
point
so
when you like snapped out of it and like saw the wording of everything and saw like how each sentence was like handcrafted to convey a certain like overall narrative and message?
well, I was the first the first chip at the iceberg was when was when the article had come out and Max was not garnering the attention that he thought that he would, and he literally like told me to use my platform to go against to like say something against Steven, because at this point I hadn't used my platform at all. I had like sort of tweeted about it, but I'd never like talked about it on Instagram or like like my audience that I had made on my own away from DGG. I'd never spoken to them about it. I had kept it like very compartmentalized. Um, and he asked me
Did you
to
make
do
a
that, and
TikTok ad for this article?
I don't think I made a TikTok about
No,
it. No.
I'm saying he wanted you to do that essentially.
Yeah, I said yeah. He wanted me to do that. He wanted me to utilize my platform, and he especially said that he wanted me to talk to the rad femmes because he knew that I had an in with the rad femmes. And he thought that like that would have been like an advantageous group to bring this up to. Um and that was when I was like, oh, he's like it just sat weird with me. And that was when I first started to realize that maybe something was weird. And I sort of distanced myself for like a second. And then I started to realize after obviously, Klonopin, coming off of Klonopin takes like a couple months for your brain to be like normal. So what me and Max would do is we'd have these like therapy calls almost like multiple times a week where he just would ask me questions about myself and not tell me anything about him and then like try to like therapize me. And for a while I liked it because I felt like really lonely. But then as I was becoming more like mentally clear coming off of the Klonopin and also being like I don't know, just growing up a little bit. I mean, I was 22 when all of this went down, or I think maybe barely 23. So I think just like my brain maturing, I started to look at it a little differently. And there was one point when like our weekly calls, I realized that he was like way sicker than me, and like, but
Based.
he was still speaking to me as if I was the sick one, which felt insane.
So
Like,
that's 2 years ago? I feel like I'm losing my mind at this point.
No,
no, it was
it's
a year and a half ago.
no.
I just turned 25.
This thing happened like last October or November. It's November right now.
Yeah, so
Yeah, but
a year ago.
at that point, I started streaming with him, I think, in March. So I think of it like early last year.
Okay, if you're talking when you started having a relationship with Max, sure.
Yeah. Or was it March or May? I don't know, one of the M months. But yeah, I started to realize like he was giving me he like he was giving me like relationship advice, and then I had noticed that his relationship was very toxic. And then I was like, I remember being like, you deserve to be like happy and to like want to make yourself better. Like you should want to make yourself better. You should focus on yourself, because he was going insane after the report. After the Destiny report, like he wasn't sleeping, he wasn't eating, he wasn't drinking, like he was going insane. And I was like, you need to self-focus on
What a gig.
yourself and your life. And he was just like, no, like I was put on this earth to do this. And I was like, oh, you're sick. Like you are really, really sick.
No, he's just on
And
the grind set.
and then he kept calling me his daughter, and I kept telling him to stop. And then at like for a month of that, I was just like, okay, dude, if you're like, this is too weird, and if you're not letting me like negotiate the terms of our like equal friendship, I like don't want to be here. Like I don't know why I was just yeah, and I think he thought I was, like, bluffing, but I obviously set the boundary. I was like, "If you keep doing this, I, like, don't wanna talk to you anymore." And he kept doing it, so I just stopped talking to him, and that was months ago at this point. And he still fucking calls me his daughter. He wore a
say-
shirt in his
Man.
hotline that says, "You can't break up with your dad."
Yeah, I did see that. Fucking weirdo. Would
What
you
the
say
Yeah,
that
it's
Come on.
that
fuck.
he was he like
Scary.
descending further based on nobody really caring about the report? Like, did he think the report was actually going to land?
Probably.
Yeah, I think yes, he did and no, he didn't. I think that he was at his worst probably right before and right after he released it. I don't yeah, I couldn't track, like, a clear descent. Also because I sort of, pulled back at that. I was, like, kind of offline for, like, a couple weeks after that came out just because I knew that it was gonna be bad for me online. And I didn't wanna really talk to him, so I just hung out with my fiancé. So I don't know if he got worse, but I know that I don't know if I've ever met, like, a grown person as sick as him. Like, I think I've met, like, teenagers and, like, maybe when I, like, went to the psych ward at, like, 14 that were, like, that sick. But it's, like, it's very jarring to have a relationship with, like, an almost 40-year-old man who is, like, losing it. It's, like, sad. Which is
Do you
why it,
love
like, sucks to even say this shit because I know that this is just gonna, like, arm people to, like, call him sick, but it really is my experience that it was, like, completely jarring and uncomfortable to have a relationship with him. But, yeah, it's, like, hard because it also is sad. Like, I also feel bad, and I don't think that people should harass him, because it doesn't do anything. He's not gonna change, and it doesn't make anyone else feel better, but I don't know, the situation's very weird.
I don't think anyone harasses him anymore. We don't really talk about him much at all. The last time like he was vaguely active, it was when he was still like watching what was going on. You
He's
messaged
pretty much
me like
banned
when
off
me and
everything now.
Forethought had like an argument, and I was like, "Why are you watching this and taking it seriously?" Like, he was like, he's like convinced that everyone's like takes things as deeply as he does, and is gonna be like affected by this in some way, and it's just like, no, it's just I was arguing with Forethought and calling him a retarded Janny. It's like, it's not this deep. I don't know, he's a strange guy.